but I'm only pointing it out again just for edification. If you wanted, because you have a little bit less principal than $10 million, if you needed extra money for any other projects, you're already paying cost to do this. So if you want to tack on a couple extra dollars to get to an even $10 million and keep those same interest rates, your payments would go up, that I'm quoting here, to $627,000. Either way, it's below that budgeted amount you're talking about. That's a policy question for you as a board, but I only keep alluding to that just for edification purposes, that you can
So
handle this.
just to go back to this 2019 budget existing interest rates, that's assuming the 2.75% interest rate, which we currently have.
2.48.
2.48.
2.48, so with the 2.48% interest rate, we're gonna be paying $643,000
Correct.
next year. So what you're saying is the bond issue, which would be like 3.65%,
yeah.
let's say.
Yeah.
It's gonna be less?
Yes, because the budgeting payback of your principal and interest on the debt will go down. What all you're really doing is you're removing the overall interest rate. I'd say your overall interest rate on the loan you have to take into account the 2.48 for the next few years until 2022, and then you have that variable rate thereafter. That's where the money starts to come in.
Right, but I'm just talking about 2019, that's based on the 2.48%
Correct.
interest rate.
Not going to change.
Okay,
Not going to change.
but 2023 could be 4.5%.
Yeah, so, good question. So, what I did was, I ran separate scenarios, because I don't know what your payments are gonna be in 2023. I can only make guesstimates of what I think the variable rate would reset at. That's what these different scenarios prove out. So, scenario one, which is the blue, this is the way your debt is currently structured. You made an assumption that the rates would hit the 5%. That's the most conservative way to look at it. Makes perfect sense to me. So those payments, if you assumed worst case scenario by 2023, the overall removed risk or debt service over time would be $641,000. That's the best you can do from a risk removal. I then ran the same scenario. Your principal payback hasn't changed. You've already established the principal payback in the 2015 loan. I then assumed that the rate would reset at 475. That's 25 basis points lower. Those overall interest savings go to $427,000. Again, still very significant. In my world, anytime you can save over 2%, it makes sense. So that's about 4.5% savings. I then assumed that that rate would reset to about 4.5% thereafter, which is, again, a little less conservative interest rate. In that case, now you're talking about $213,000 of overall reduced interest over time. And again, that still puts you over 2.23%.
Now, is that starting from 2023?
Correct, yes,
Okay,
until maturity. So,
and what interest rate could we get at a bank today? If we were to refinance today?
Well,
You-
you refinance with PenVest.
You can't.
PenVest will lock you into a rate of.
PenVest doesn't refinance debt.
It's. Okay, I have an email that says different, but, so.
Yeah. They generally, they refinance short-term loans, generally speaking.
Well, there was a 5-year rate, and there was also a 20-year rate for Montgomery County. So come 2021, or 2022, we will have already paid we will already paid at the 2.48%. We're locked into that for 7 years, and we'll have had the 5. So we would only need an additional 20-year loan with PenVest at a rate of, I forget what the gal said, but I think it was around 2.5–3%, somewhere in there. A lot lower than the 4.5 and 5, 4.75 that you're quoting now.
The PenVest program you apply for annually, which you could have maybe potentially looked
When it
into.
started.
We did in the beginning,
Right,
Invest is,
yeah, you're too wealthy, more than likely, so you probably have an unlikely event of getting.
And your interest rate is based on the general budget of the township.
Correct.
I'm just curious, if we were to refinance tomorrow, what are the current rates?
Yes, so going back to your point here. The market you have is do a bank loan and refinance. economically, you won't do any better than you have today, for two reasons. Most importantly, tax reform. Local banks are quoting loans right now around 4% fixed for 5 years. You're currently paying 2.48. Why is that? The reason that is the 80% level is different than the 67% level they have today, because the value of bank loans is lessened because of tax reform. So local banks are offering fixed rates of about 5 years, around 4%. The max rates would be higher than you currently have, meaning that cap rate. Banks will not give you long-term rates, I can guarantee that. I bid out one last week for a borough in York County, and the fixed rate for 15 years was around 4%. Typically, Fulton Bank of the world, they're giving 5-year fixed rates, and again, it's about 4%. South Whitehall Township, as an example, up in Lehigh County, where Dorney Park is, they're doing a loan right now with a small bank, and their rate was 4.06%. Capital 5.
And that resets.
Same
after the 5
reset.
years.
Actually, the reset and those loans would be approximately 80% of prime, which would be higher than you currently have.
Right.
So again, economics of refinancing with a bank loan
So you're
don't
saying
work.
it's the recent tax law has,
Completely and utterly impacted local governments utilizing local banks to finance transactions. I have done, in my career, probably half my financings have been bank loans. I love bank loans. They don't work now, unfortunately. The smaller transactions may make some sense, because if you're doing a $1 or $2 million issue, the cost of issuance may eat up for the value of the draws. You can do some bank loans and probably make it work. But kind of anything that's longer term, one, and two, of a bigger size, the economics don't make any sense to do a bank loan. So trust me in that sense, that's the market right now. So the alternative for you is, let's look into the full-time fixed rate on the bond market right now. That would be my recommendation.
and what's our payout period?
Oh yeah, so let's go back to your numbers. So that scenario right there is each alternative of what your variable rate would look like at certain projections. But in the end, it will overall provide you a reduced overall interest rate going forward. And from a budgetary standpoint, it's about $619,000 a year.
And just so I understand it for some questions is, let's say theoretically we go this way, in 5 years, the tax laws are different, the economy's different, pigs are flying, everything's wonderful,
We can do whatever we want.
we can do something else.
Yes? Yeah.
Okay,
My job is to recommend what is the best alternative, so
today.
today, and when I'm watching this over time. So if there's an economic value in refinancing the debt, or you have extra cash sitting around, whatever it may be, I'm gonna be talking to you to say, hey, let's go save some more money. And again, that could be a bond, it could be a bank loan, it could be some random new method of finance, whatever it may be. I'm not tied to anything, I'm tied to
Okay.
reducing the interest rates.
I have a question, it's
Sure.
not for you, it's for anybody at the board that can answer me. We have a $9.6 million that we can draw down. We've drawn down 7.7. We have a retainage that we have to pay, that we're sitting on. Other than that, do you expect us to be drawing down the full 9.6?
We still have another project we need to do.
The collection system extension on the full building.
And will that take us up to the
That's
9.6?
estimated at over $2 million, yes.
Okay.
So will that take us over the time?
I
If
believe
we
we
would
had
bid it today, yes.
2.6 last time we estimated, and that was a good year ago now.
Yeah.
That's
That's a whole other issue we have to.
and that's why I kind of brought up the concept of maybe tacking on a couple extra dollars. And I don't make any more or less if you add some more money to it. It's really just a thought of, hey, based on some estimates here, you can get to you can do a $10 million issuance and you'll end up with a couple extra dollars, which if you're thinking things are gonna be costly, it may be worthwhile to it. But that's a budgetary question and a internal question. But you don't have to make the decision today, I just pointed that out. So, page 6, this is again, more of the information what you have and what the costs and payments are. So, page 6 is your current loan as is. So when it was structured, back then, you were making principal payments in December of every year. That doesn't change. That goes until December 1, 2040. That's when your debt is finally paid off. So at the time, you did essentially a 25-year transaction. It's been a few years, so we wouldn't extend or change anything. As I mentioned earlier, from a budgetary standpoint, you're budgeting $640-ish thousand per year. It actually looks like it bumps as high as 649 at some point, but it's around there. But again, for 2019, it's 643. It'll maybe go up a couple extra dollars based on this. So that's the starting point. Based on how quickly we actually get through a financing, depends on the settlement date, but this next page is really just a mathematical calculation of what the payoff would be, assuming you drew down all the money. So my recommendation would be, if you do this, you either do one of two things. You just keep the loan as is, you borrowed 7.7, you pay that off, and then you add the balance for what you need for the rest of the project. So you end up with the same answer, but you wouldn't be paying interest on that money until you drew it down. So you kind of wait until that point, but you still end up with the same point from the budgetary standpoint. So again, you make an estimate of what your payoff would be, whether that's 9.6 or 7.7, it's kind of all the same once it's all said and done.
Kevin just left, I was gonna ask him how much you paid.
To date, you've paid in full for how much you've drawn off the loan?
7.7-ish.
No, you've issued
No, how much you
contracts
paid
for
back?
7.7, well, $7,701,612.60. The draw to date has been $7,306,748.90.
I guess my question was, have we started paying it back? Have we
Yes.
made it? So
Yeah,
we don't
you-
owe the whole amount.
Yeah, so under the state guidelines, and this is why we're sitting here today, you issued originally, or I think it was at around $10 million. You can do very little principal in the first couple of years, but the state requires you start to pay full principal after the construction really starts and we get moving. So your major principal really hits starting in 2019. So you've essentially saved a fair amount of money because of the draw capabilities, because it's taken time for you to spend that money. I think I've estimated that you've saved approximately, during the course of this time, course of that draw period, where did I figure that out for you? Which I think was great, good job, was I think you saved, hundreds of thousands, maybe $500,000 bucks or so, just from the reduction of the draw capabilities. Well, now you've drawn a fair amount, so that kind of value has disappeared. So that's not factored into this refinancing analysis. You've already benefited from that at this point. So that's page 6, page 7, we talked about the payoff. So page 8, this is the assumption of what the payback would be of the new proposed financing based on new interest rates. So what I did was, like the other loan, I kept your principal payments exactly the same as they are. You're paying those principal payments on December 1st. You can pick whatever you want. You can pick June if you want, but your current debt is paid in December. I'm not sure how you charge, if you charge quarterly or monthly on the sewer charge, quarterly. So you have a cash flow coming in from that, but you end up making your major payments in December of every year. So from there, we essentially try to match what you're paying today for what you're paying in the future, but making the payments about level overall. So as I kept mentioning, going forward, in 2019, you would have budgeted $643,000. It's gonna be about $618 in 2019. So you save about $22,000 a year. In 2018 though, you have some additional savings, and that's where you make up for some of it. It all depends on what your draws are, but our expectation is that removed risk or savings is about $140,000. So when you kind of add all those things up, $20,000 per year over the next 22 years or so, plus the additional 140-ish, it adds up to about $640,000. But again, that's that one analysis. When you look at that 475 or 4.5, those savings change, but it doesn't change what your payments are. That's what I keep pointing out. That column 6 is really what matters to you. This is what you guys will be budgeting going forward from your particular sewer fund. It's about $620,000 a year. That's not adding any additional new money. If you added that extra 120-ish, you end up paying an extra, couple $1,000s per year. So that's at least the math. I built all these numbers making assumptions of what the cost of issuance would be. There's a few things. I don't have them all in place because you don't get all of them until you go through a process. So what this page on page 9 is a range of what I think cost of issuance would be. I spoke to your solicitor and got an idea of what he would charge. Kevin was going to provide me with some information, but I want to give you a range. For my numbers that you're seeing here, I assumed total soft costs, which are built into these numbers, about $150,000, and I say soft costs. What that means is bond underwriting costs. That's about $80,000. The balance would be approximately $70,000 of legal, FA, rating, QSIP, official statement. All the things that are listed here make up that. So that's what we built into the numbers to come up with the came up with this analysis. So I show you guys a range until we actually get to the formal process, but I think this gives you an idea of what you're looking at. These are the players. You have a bond counsel, solicitor, us, underwriter, whoever that may be. My recommendation is, and I think it makes perfect sense here, if we do the transaction as a competitive sale, I think I might have mentioned this at the last meeting, once we go through the process of getting your credit rating, we would sell the bonds at an auction. There is an internet auction site that PFM has that we essentially use for these type of transactions. Any bond underwriter in the country has the option to bid on your bonds, and whoever they look at your official statement, they look at your credit ratings, do everything necessary, and on the day of the sale, they will put their bids in. And during that course of that auction, if they keep lowering their interest rate, the auction keeps going. So we have done these all the time, and I've seen auctions where they typically go at least 15 minutes, but they can get extended an extra 10, 15 minutes, unlike eBay, which disappears after after a period of time. Ours can keep going until the underwriters say, no more, I can't go any lower. So that could happen, but to start, that bidding process would be part of this. So that underwriter's commission kind of changes depending on whatever their bids are. All we care about is that true interest cost. That means that the interest rate they offer and their fee, their commission. That's what's built into their cost. Financial printing and operating, that's that official statement I described. That's the information that the public or the people buying your bonds, we create that document. The credit rating is the document that's the rating that tells the public what you guys are worth. Are you a AA minus? Are you a AA? You're an A+. I think you'll be in the AA category. That would be there. Bond insurance, as I mentioned earlier, if you fall within that AA category, you may not need it at all. That's why I show a range from 0 to 45,000. I don't know until we get the credit rating. Internet auction administered, that's that A that I mentioned. QSIP number is the Social Security number of every bond. So if you want the 2020 maturity, it has its own QSIP. You got that. And paying agent, lastly, is bid out, and that is a firm like M&T Bank, TD Bank, Fulton Bank. There's specific companies that go and they essentially send you bills and to pay the bondholders. So you add them all together. There's ranges that I'm showing here. I believe, based on my assumption, it's kind of all in about 150. I think it'll be a little less, but until you actually go and get that stuff done, you don't know for sure. Yes?
I have a question. At your last presentation, you said in addition to these soft costs, which are $150,000, that your monthly fee for issuing the bonds and doing all the work would be $1,000 a month. But we wouldn't see it because it would be, you'd put it through the amortization of the loan.
I don't know if I said I wouldn't charge anything.
You charge nothing, so there's not $1,000 a month fee
No.
going forward?
No.
No, you're the financial advisor.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't charge any fee until we went through the transaction costs.
Well, once, let's say we go through all this, the bond's in place.
Yep, and you said
How much per year to?
0.
0? So the only outlay of cost is this $150,000 up front?
For us, 0. That $1,000 I think you're alluding to, that's the paying agent cost. So
Okay.
every year you have the paying agent that sends the bill and pays the bondholder.
Mhm.
That annual fee would be between $500 and $1,500 a year.
A year?
Yes,
9 months?
How is
Okay.
that paid?
out of your budget.
like as a check, like as a,
Right.
Yeah.
You have to pay somebody to service that bond.
So we would bid that out. I say.
Just like if you cash that bond, if you call that bond is what it's called, if you call that bond, there's a fee associated with that, if I'm correct. Basically, you're saying, we're done, we're paying it off. But there's still a fee, you're paying a fee for a prepayment of that bond.
Yeah,
It's basically, you're calling the bond.
You're paying a company to pay the people that own your bonds. So that's the paying
it's like a
agent.
processing fee.
Essentially, yes. That's the main difference.
It does say $1,000.
So looking back for a quick second, the page, previously page 8, looking at column number 6, let's just say that we go ahead and move forward with this. For year 2019, we're looking at $618,636. Does that include the paying agent fee, or does that not?
No, there's not.
Okay.
There's not.
We said that's like $1,000 a year.
Correct. I think it'll be, no, not a month.
A year,
That,
approximately.
my
okay.
guess, it'll be less than that. There
Okay.
are 4 firms that we normally send out to. There's probably like 5 or 6 that do this. Typically, the cheapest is US Bank. They're probably around, they're just under $500 a year for that. Again, I don't think they really do a good job. So there's usually those kind of firms. M&T's around 1,000. TD's around 750. So we'll bid it out, and whoever's the lowest wins.
So follow-up question, so we're talking about the paying agent having an annualized fee.
Mhm.
Are there any other fees that are not associated
No.
with that same number?
And frankly, if you ever refunded it and went back to a bank loan, obviously you don't need a paying agent anymore. That's fair, but obviously you make an assumption you keep bonds. That's really the gist of it. Let's go back to page 4. Oh, yeah, page 4. The whole purpose of this meeting is really to talk about the next steps as well. So we have the details of what you can do, what I think your payments are going to be, the analysis that we determine could make some sense from a dollars and cents standpoint. So what are the next steps, and where is the risk for the township? So let's just start with the beginning part. So we're sitting on July 31st. So as I mentioned earlier, I provided Kevin that request for information to get some information of us to start to prepare that preliminary official statement. We have that. Once we get that, we can start to get things together to get ready to start the rating process. You would, at this point, need to have some sort of bond counsel in place because they would be needing to review the document as well as being part of the process. There is due diligence associated with the transaction. In either event, they're also part of the team at that point. You can determine who that is at any time you
And are
want.
we paying them too?
No, you're not paying them until we do a transaction.
And where are they on this list, the bond council?
They are bond counsel, the top section of the legal fees.
Okay, so they're included under
Yes.
section, okay.
Yes. So I would suggest we would get a bond counsel relatively soon. You've had one before, so you can use them. I don't really care who you use, as long as they're a red book bond counsel, which means that they can give a tax opinion. That's all we really care about. So once we have that, if you wanted to move forward and continue to go through the process, and you want